Guitar Heroes, Eric Andreas, your guitar sage here. My friends, do you find yourself not knowing what to play when it comes to soloing? Or are you one of those players that you know some scales, you know how to noodle around, but yet you're not as melodic as you'd like to be? My friends, if you answered yes to either of those, this is the video for you. Let me talk to you about chasing the chord. This is an idea that I like to call chasing the chord because that's exactly what we're doing. I'll explain it in just a minute, and it will absolutely make you sound a lot more melodic and allow you to really shine and to get those melodies and phrases that you've always been wanting to get from your own playing. Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, let's drill down. So this idea of chasing the chord, what I call chasing the chord, is when you as a musician are cognizant, aware, if you will, of what chord is being played underneath what you should be soloing over. Now, some people might say, well, what does that matter? I've got my scale, I know what key it's in, and I'm off to the races. Okay, that's one way to look at it, and that is one thin layer, but there's layers that are deeper than that. If you're wondering why you're not sounding melodic, chances are this is the reason why. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever been in one of those conversations where you're speaking, but it doesn't sound, even though the person's right in front of you and it seems like they're listening, I mean, you're in earshot and you're having a conversation, even though you're talking, they're not listening. They're not taking in what it is that you're saying, and because of that, the communication's not there. Have you ever been there? I know I have. And what's happening is someone is just, they're thinking about the next thing to say instead of listening to you. And when two people listen, they're communicating, right? And they're able to get to whatever it is that they're after. And the same thing is true with music. Musicians do not just get up on stage and start randomly playing notes and hopefully it comes together. They're playing in a certain key, in a certain time, in a certain tempo, in a certain genre, certain feels, certain nuances that they're playing off of to make it sound cohesive and great, right? So we need to think the same way when it comes to soloing. A lot of people don't do this. They'll take a chord progression and just noodle over the top of it. They'll say, hey, this chord progression's in the key of A minor, so I'm going to use an A minor scale, go. And that's one way to look at it. And you can do some soloing with that, but so much more helpful to chase the chord. And what I mean by that is understanding what chord's being played and then to extrapolate or exploit the specific notes that are out of that chord in your phrasing to make it sound like you know what you're talking about. When I mean sound like you know what you're talking about, to know what you're talking about. This essentially is you having a conversation with somebody. You're the listener because you're the player, right? And you're listening to those chords, so you don't like when people don't listen to you, right? In this case here as a player, you're listening to those chords, and that information is going to allow you to know what it is to say. You ever talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife, and you're wondering what they're wanting, they're telling you what they want. If you listen to them, then you can give them what they want. Same thing here with music. If we have a chord progression playing, we need to follow that. We need to adhere to that. In this case here, what I'm going to be working with is A minor, G major, and F major. I'm playing them a little funky here, but essentially I'm using bar chords here, but it doesn't matter. However you want to do this. Open chords is fine too. Okay. Now, I could play, say, like this chord progression and just noodle over the top of it and sound pretty good, right? So I could do that, right? And that's fine. And in fact, when I'm playing, a lot of times I will just think that. I'll think the scale. But then what I do is I'm also cognizant of the chords, and I'm going to show you some ways that we might be able to do that. So the chords go like this. It's A minor, G, F, back to G, so what we're going to do, and this is how I suggest to my students how to learn this technique, is you're not really soloing right away. In fact, it's almost as if you're playing rhythm guitar, okay? But what you do is you're being so aware of what's happening. So again, we're listening to someone. We're not talking. We want to talk so bad. Dear God, we want to talk so bad. But it's better to listen because we're getting information, okay? And if we do this, it's going to work into us saying the right thing. But we got to know what to say first by listening. So what I suggest doing is playing the chords along with it and then taking fragments of those chords and playing those. Maybe 3 notes at a time, 4 notes at a time, 2 notes at a time, and then 1 note at a time, okay? And by doing that, we're going to be in the right place at all times. And eventually you will not be playing the rhythm part. You'll be playing some lead part, but you'll be so aware of the chords. So let me show you how I might do this, okay? So got the chords. I'm going to just play the chords at first. Then maybe part of the chord. So you get the idea. What I'm doing here is I'm just taking the chord and I'm being very simple with it, playing it as a rhythm player. And then I'm trying to get almost like switch roles into a lead player, where a lead player obviously is going to play some of the higher notes, typically play 1 or 2 notes at a time instead of a chord, right? That's the rhythm player. And so I'm trying to take that same idea of, okay, I'm on this A minor chord, I'm playing some sort of something. Now, this is a very simple scaled down version of this, because if we really branched out at first, it's going to be a little overwhelming. But let me give you some examples of things that I might think about. So I might think about the caged system. I might think about, and if you don't know what that is, here on YouTube, search YourGuitarSage Caged, and I'll teach that to you. Or inside the Unstoppable Guitar System, I have many videos, many series covering that. But what I would do is, if I'm thinking about the chord, I'm thinking, okay, well, here's an A minor. Here's an A minor. You know, this version of it. There's another version of it right there. Here's another. So I've got these different forms of it, right? Here's another one right here. And so what I do is, when that chord is being played, I might arpeggiate over it. And arpeggio is when you play the notes individually, like, or in some other scale notes there, but I'm outlining the chord. Okay, so that's one way we can do it. Then I might also take licks out of that. So you saw me, or motifs, which is a musical idea. So I took these top 3 notes of the chord and I played. And the top 3 notes of the G chord, right? Top 3 notes of the F chord. And then, so it doesn't sound so sterile and so chasing the chord, so on top of it. Because, you know, think about it. If you're in a conversation with someone and you're repeating everything that they say, well, that could be annoying too, right? But remember, that's not our problem as players. Our problem as players is we're just running off doing our own thing. It really helps if we listen a lot more. So for right now, don't worry about sounding too much like the chord. Do that. You have to start there. You got to make it very elementary at first and then start pulling back. So don't worry if you're sounding too much like I'm on top of the chord. That will fade, okay? It'll fade automatically because you're going to want to rip and start soloing and coming up with these riffs, right? But if you do it this way, you can work these little bits and pieces. So you've got the framework, and then you'll notice other notes out of the scale or out of the other chords that you were just playing, which are notes out of the scale. You're going to notice them being underneath your fingertips where you're like, oh, that's right, I can grab that note because I was just there with that A minor. So for instance, if I'm here, well, I know those are the top 3 strings at the 5th fret. So when I'm playing my G chord, I know I could even hit this note. I could do fun stuff like that, what I call chord noodling. Here on YouTube, search Your Guitar Sage chord noodling if you need help with that. But the idea is you're seeing the chord and you're seeing the scale at the same time, and you're able to play the chord, yet play some of the little fun notes around it too to make it sound not so much like you're just on top of the chord. What will happen is you're going to start coming up with other bits. So like for instance, for that G chord, we also have harmonics because we have an open G chord. So we can play harmonics at the 5th fret, at the 7th fret, at the 12th fret, and it would work. So I could go something like that, you know, the basic idea there. Now what I want you to do is this, I want you to take a basic chord progression. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be any one of the blues tracks or any one of the jam tracks that I have here on YouTube. More recently, like the last year or so, especially if I'm teaching some sort of blues something or another, usually I'll put a backing track on there as well. You might search Your Guitar Sage backing track and see. We might just pop up that way. Otherwise, if you're inside the Unstoppable guitar system, I have like nearly 600 jam tracks in there. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a track like that, or any track here on YouTube, or if you have a looper pedal, take 2 chords and play that chord, each one of those chords for say like 2 measures a piece, so you have enough time to think about the chord, extrapolate some of the notes from it, exploit some of those notes from it, and then move on to the next chord. This will really get your mind to think about, okay, what's the next chord, and asking that question. Eventually it will be absolutely natural to you, super easy to do, but you got to make yourself do it. It doesn't happen automatically. All right, my friends, hopefully that helps you chasing the chord to sound more melodic. I promise you this is going to help you a ton and to sound so much more mature, if you will, in your playing. My friends, I'm Eric Andreas, Your Guitar Sage. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those fun places. See right here. See that you can go to these places. And I do all sorts of fun things there, like I give thousands of dollars worth of goodies away every single month. We do live broadcasts, YourGuitarSage.com/live. I have all sorts of free stuff, a free course. I've got a free ebook, YourGuitarSage.com YourGuitarSage.com. Please let me know how I can help. Leave your comments below, like and subscribe, and do all those fun things if you'd like. And let me know how I can help you. As always, my friends, be kind to all beings, do the right thing, and practice that guitar. All right, I'll see you in the next video.